Hi, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. Come closer? Closer? Actually, back up, you're kind of my personal space. Okay, I did not know what I was doing at the beginning of this. I've done studies of anatomy and perspective and all that jazz in depth for a long time, but art styles make my brain short circuit because they're an amalgamation of all the subjective parts of art, you know? Like, it's the things that you learn to study from real life. Anatomy, perspective, line weight, color, all mushed together into one big mush. And so it just was really hard for my brain to comprehend going from studying all these things in depth that I could just do from real life and then studying other people's interpretations of those things. Okay, there was a setup that I had to do, a day zero, if you will. I had to compile artists, references, and just try and figure out what I am going to do for this. So basically, it was a lot of stuff. I used Freeform on my iPad because it just helped me have all of my references and a couple of notes in one place, and I didn't take up my canvas space. And then that just made it a lot easier to draw on Procreate because there wasn't 15 pictures blocking my view. With compiling artists, I ended up journaling a lot of the people that I'd like to study from, what sort of things I really like about their art style, just trying to break down what really is something that I want to work towards. Because while I have the general gist of drawing stuff, like if you give me a concept and I look up a reference, I could probably draw it to some level of decency. But there's still this gap, of is this like my true form? If that makes sense. This is my true form. I need to work up to it. And all that brings us to day one. Day one, I decided to reference from Dialing Number 9 and try and break down what do I like about their style, what stands out to me. Their art, I think what I really enjoy about it is, I wrote so much, but it's how they incorporate non-human elements into like anthropomorphized characters. It's so interesting. And they use these large, soft shapes, these big, very strong silhouettes, and they have these little sharp ones at the end of it, like big soft shapes and small sharp ones. They also have these really nice gradients that they use with their colors, and each part of the things that they color stays in a certain color range, if that makes sense. Like the tree leaves on these dryads, they stay in a green range, and then the cloth stays in a gray range, and the body tends to stay in this very nice red tone. That's something that I picked up on. All of their shapes and forms have a very crisp read. I used a lot of different studying processes from a lot of different sources because I was trying to figure out which thing resonated with me. For this one, what I did was I looked at the reference and I took those notes that we mentioned, right? And so then I'm going to just draw something over here on this side and figure out, okay, what do I want to apply? So the crisp forms, the very interesting shape language, that's something I want to work on. And then I'm going to see, okay, I've drawn this drawing. Now let's look back and see which things do I still need to change and figure out. And then I draw again. That's the process. Alright, so applying this, I drew my OC Shia, who I have not drawn in a very long time. So I was kind of basically recreating her as I drew her. But one of the things I realized when I did this is that I overly detailed the shapes when compared to a test run that I did of this art study. Right over here, I've pulled it up, and you can see this test run, it has a lot more of those crisp shapes, those big smooth lines, and those sharp edges, which is really what I was trying to encompass. And for the Shia one that I drew, she's just a bit too complex, like I didn't simplify her enough. So that's something that I realized I needed to do on day 2. For day 2, I drew another piece with Callum. I know I'm throwing a lot of names at you. Okay, you don't have to remember them, it's fine. But I drew him and tried to apply what I had realized that I had missed out on. So simplify their shapes, but also be willing to have those sort of intricate details inside of the shapes, because I felt like Shia's was a little bit empty, so I did that there. While we're here, I took some inspiration from the Rendering in 7 Days, if I'm remembering correctly, video that Tanalieku did. Here's their channel over here. I think I should create a benchmark illustration or something like that, like the way that they did, so I can mark my progress better, because it is a little difficult to see strong improvement when you don't have something to base the progress off of. That's definitely something I'll do next time. It really helped to work on those internal and external forms and capture a flow in his movements. And I wrote a lot of little notes to myself with it. I think it went well for that one. But with my new takeaways, we move to day 3. On day 3, I noticed his clothing was a little bit empty, so I added some detail on his pants and his shirt. I think I accidentally fell into the same mistake of drawing too much detail, because, man, it's the itch. But I've realized the error of my ways. Also, I went into doing Loish art this time, trying to figure out her way of doing shapes, texture, and color when it comes to objects and people. I got some nice and flowy rocks by the end, since she uses a lot of specific squash and stretch in different areas. I think exaggeration is a theme that I notice here with her art and with Dialing Number 9's art. They both have a sense of exaggerating things just enough. You know what I mean? Pushing it right at the edge of something. And that is definitely a concept that I struggle with at some points, especially with faces. Oh my gosh, I need to do that with faces a lot more. But because I've noticed that, I can see it as a way to improve, you know? Because a lot of artists utilize exaggeration in one way or another, you know? Anyway, I also decided to try and combine Loish's art style with a reference to see what I could make from that. I really like how the rocks turned out with combining her art style, because I think I was really able to push some of them and give them a sort of flow, a little bit of life, which I'm very happy with. I definitely want to exaggerate more, especially because it'll be so useful for comic making, because I can't draw everything in hyper detail. I need there to be a flow to guide people. Also, I drew another OC, Sabine. You don't have to remember the names, it's fine. But I tried to draw her combining some of the art style elements I thought up of. On day 4, I noticed that there were a lot of gradients Loish and Number 9 have in their art, and that was something that I really found interesting to figure out. I don't know. This time though, I really wanted to push the shapes in the trees using a similar reference in real life, and then combining it with Loish's art, like looking at Loish's art and then also having the reference right next to it. And that was pretty useful. I really like the personality that all the trees started to have. The flow with the tinier branches though is something that I still need to improve on, because I can't give them like a chunky flow in the way that the big parts of the tree go, you know? They've got to have more fine-tuned flow. Whatever that means. For day 5 and day 6, I was really tired. I was so tired. So what I just did was, for day 5, I took some notes on the next artist that I was really interested in interpreting and understanding, Juan Mao. They have these really, really cool, like, exaggeration that they use in faces, and their colors have this nice pop to them. It's just something about their art is so, like, cartoony. For day 6, I did a lot of loose automatic drawing, took some more notes, and did some small adjustments to previous art that I was thinking of. I was really tired. And then I proceeded to crash into sleep. And that brings us to day 7, a relaxing end, because I did not have the energy to do the hardcore push, final countdown, oh, we're at the end kind of thing that I wanted to do. I realized that I did not have that energy in me. So I just decided to break down more of Juan Mao's art and apply it to some of the character designs that I've been wanting to do, like Makara. A Makara is a Hindu mythological creature that's a protector of sorts. I think there's a lot more that I can do as I create further iterative designs on this one. Okay, so final little bit. Did I improve doing this challenge? Yes, but not in the way you usually see this going. What I got better at was not necessarily my technical drawing skills, but my observation skills. There's this pattern of exaggerated shapes, strong color, textures, character designs, and flow with each of the artists that I practice from, so now I know to focus on those things if I want to improve. Weirdly enough, this ended up being an assessment of what I like. It gives me a baseline to work off of. It also helped me figure out what study skills work for me, and that some days I'll have dips in my energy, and that's okay. That's okay to honor that, you know? Don't push it too hard. Trust me, it will create some serious burnout if you do. So, when I plan my next study sessions, I'll be planning the times I do them more carefully, especially because I was doing a lot of these later in the day, like late in the day. 9 to 12. So I definitely need to consider my energy levels at those times. I also think that this ended up being more about building up a regular art study exercise routine rather than a huge 8 hours a day study sesh kind of thing. But I think the small things help make a difference, at least down the line. We'll see on it. But now I understand how to break down a lot of artists better, and I can hone on that skill, you know? There's still so many people I want to study from, including the artists in this video in way more depth. Maybe I'll do like a separate week for each, or maybe a separate week for a different topic, just something like that. These types of challenges help me try out a lot of things I've not done yet or avoided, like I want to do one maybe on creating more comics, studying languages, that kind of thing. Because there's something about marking my progress in these videos, especially in this like long form video format, that just makes it more real. Maybe recording what you did in a journal or a video for yourself can help when doing these. Something like that. That could also be useful for you. Anyway, just posting written text never really worked for me. I don't know what it was, but for you it might. So I want to toss that out there. Alright, thank you for joining me on this. Bye.